Hey guys, welcome to Spot and welcome to week 34 of the 2018-2019 Premier League review. If you are new to this series, what we do is we take a look at the past set of Premier League results, we take a look at the Premier League table, and we finish off by looking at the top goal scorers. So here are the past set of Premier League results. These games were played on, wait for it, Friday the 12th, Saturday the 13th, Sunday the 14th, Monday the 15th, and Tuesday the 16th of April 2019. Next to the games are the times in this video, so if you want to hear about a specific match, you can just go to the time next to the game and you will skip out all the other crap. But without further ado, let's get into our first match. We start with Brighton versus Bournemouth. The first shot on target resulted in the first goal in this match as defender Daz Gonsling opened the scoring for Bournemouth with his first goal in about a year. It's really easy for Bournemouth. The fact that Callum Wilson is able to just pass it across to a completely unmarked man is quite ridiculous really. 3 players go over to Callum Wilson, so that leaves Dan Gosling able to peel off and wait on the penalty spot, and I'm not sure if Gosling actually can believe how free he is, because when Wilson gives the ball back to him, he touches it, freezes for a second, and then he just slotted it into the bottom left corner. And Bournemouth doubled their lead 10 minutes in the second half as Ryan Fraser got the goal. Bit of luck about this one as he has the ball just on the edge of the D, and as he's about to shoot he actually slips over, but maybe the slip helped him out as that lifted the ball up and it flew past Matty Ryan and straight into the top corner. And things would get a lot harder for Brighton as they were reduced to 10 men as Anthony Knockout was sent off. Maybe he doesn't need a red card here and he actually needs a prison sentence. Not only is he nowhere near the ball, he's literally 2 or 3 seconds too late. The ball is long gone. Red card all day. I think the league should suspend him for a lot longer. Get him out for the rest of the season. It's one of those ones that you wince as soon as you see it. No need for VAR on this one. What a daft thing to do when you're one of the team's better players and you're in a relegation fight. And Bournemouth made the man advantage count as they got their third just a few minutes later as the young Welsh talent David Brooks added to the misery. Lovely football this. Joshua King has the ball on the right. Not sure he knows about David Brooks running past him. The Welshman just takes the ball off him. He plays at the edge of the box for Ryan Fraser. He hit it first time back to Brooks in the box and Brooks poked it into the bottom corner. And Bournemouth got a fourth with 10 minutes to go as Callum Wilson added another nail in the Brighton coffin. Wilson controlled a cross on the left hand side of the box. He touches it past his man, protects the ball from another before rolling it back across and into the bottom right. And Bournemouth got a fifth in stoppage time as Junior Stanislas got the goal. It was just bullying at this point, wasn't it really? After a Duffy tackle, the ball fell rather luckily to David Brooks. He raced onto it, laid it off to his left for Stanislas, and he put it back across and again into that bottom right corner. And that's how the game ended. Wow. Brighton, what happened? They were 2 goals down when they were reduced to 10 men, but even then they really just let Bournemouth have their way with them and their wives pretty much. What makes it even worse is that Bournemouth haven't been that great away from home this season, this being only their 4th away win of the season, with the other 3 coming against Watford and the 2 already relegated sides in Fulham and Huddersfield. If their impressive run to the FA Cup semi-final had put Brighton's head in the clouds, this result brought them straight back down. Brighton sat just 1 place above the drop zone, and this was a few days before the 6-pointer with Cardiff, which I will talk about at the end of the weekend fixtures. Bournemouth have pretty much all but secured their place in the league next season, and pretty much 1 more point will all but mathematically secure it as well. And we move on to Tottenham versus Huddersfield. Tottenham broke the deadlock in the 25th minute as Victor Wanyama got his first of the season. The ball was fired into the middle by Ben Davies towards Fernando Llorente. He has his back towards goal. He turns and the challenge on him ended up falling nicely to Wanyama, and he took a touch around the keeper and tapped it into the empty net. And Tottenham doubled their lead just 2 minutes later as Lucas Moura made it 2 to the home side. Moussa Sissoko ran towards goal and he flicked it off to his right for Moura. The Brazilian then took a touch before wellying it back across and into the far top corner. And Tottenham wrapped the game up in the 87th minute as they got their third and Lucas Moura got his second. Christian Eriksen with the assist for this one as he has the ball on the right wing and he sent it into the middle with a low cross. Moura controls it with his left, hooked it past the keeper into the bottom right, and Tottenham got a fourth in the 93rd minute as Lucas Moura completed his hat-trick. He's a pub quiz answer from now until the rest of time. Who got the first ever hat-trick at Tottenham Hotspur's new stadium? Lucas Moura. Son Heung-min slid the ball through the defence and played Lucas in, and it's basically the exact same as his first one. Fired it back across, basically through the keeper and into the far corner. And that's how the game ended, and after a nervy first 20 minutes or so, Tottenham eventually calmed down and ran over already relegated Huddersfield. It could have been even more for Tottenham as both Fernando Llorente and Christian Eriksen hit the woodwork as Tottenham showed the clear gulf in quality between the two. Perhaps with one eye on Wednesday's second leg against Man City, Tottenham rested 7 players in a game where, in all honesty, they could afford to. And the change front three was sublime. Llorente was holding off his men, Eriksen was his creative self, but Moura stole the show for obvious reasons. After getting injured in midweek, Tottenham were without Harry Kane, but they don't actually need him, as they've won literally every game they've played without him this season. And we move on to Crystal Palace versus Manchester City. Man City took the lead 15 minutes into the match as Raheem Sterling opened the score, and what a ball by Kevin De Bruyne this was. He's been plagued with injuries all season. This was his first assist of the season because of that. Straight through 2 rows of Palace players up to Sterling on the right hand side of the box. Sterling had just missed a golden chance, but he didn't miss this one. He whacked it back across goal and into the roof of the net. And City doubled their lead in the 63rd minute as Raheem Sterling got his and City's second. Sergio Aguero started the move by dinking a ball up towards David Silva. The Spaniard was forced a bit wide but looked back, laid it off to Leroy Sané. Sané then drilled it first time into the middle and Raheem Sterling was on hand to just direct the ball into the bottom left. But Crystal Palace would make the final 10 minutes a bit more nervy for Man City as they halved the deficit through Luka Milivojevic. What the hell is that? Milivojevic scoring but not from a penalty? What? Are you Joe? Oh, no, it still was from a set piece. Never mind. A free kick pretty much right in the middle of the D. The Man City wall looked terrible. It looked absolutely awful. Horribly set up, the Palace captain took full advantage of it. He hit it low, snuck it through the wall and into the bottom left. But Man City wrapped the game up in the 90th minute as Gabriel Jesus got City's 2-goal lead back. Palace had a free kick, so obviously they pushed men forward because they had nothing to lose really, but they did lose the ball as Bernardo Silva nicked it and it was played to Kevin De Bruyne and he just galloped forward. He turned his body right before laying it off to his left for Jesus. He evades a sliding Milivojevic before slowing it down and rolling it past the keeper. And that's how the game ended as Man City overcame a late Crystal Palace surge to secure the win. They were forced into some nervous moments in the final few minutes after Luka's 12th of the season, but in all honesty, City were just better from start to finish. After beating City in the reverse fixture in December, Palace couldn't do it again and rarely looked like repeating the accomplishment in front of their own fans. They offered very little attacking wise whilst their midfield found itself overpowered, and it shouldn't come as a shock to Palace fans as they've lost 9 league home games this season and only relegated Huddersfield have a worse home record. City were on top for all of the match, thoroughly deserved the win, and the only disappointment for them is that they conceded for the first time in 4 league games. And we move on to Liverpool versus Chelsea. After just watching City beat Crystal Palace and go on top, Liverpool were looking forward to the Chelsea game and it was a very tight first half. Liverpool had more of the ball, arguably the best chance, but it looked like Chelsea were quite comfortable when it came to repelling any Liverpool attack. That was until 5 minutes in the second half when Sadio Mane gave Liverpool the lead. I'll tell you what, Jordan Henderson in this more creative role has been outstanding over the last 3 games. Mo Salah played it to Bobby Firmino. Firmino flicked it through the legs of David Luiz looking for Mo Salah. He can't quite get onto it and it looked like the ball was going to roll away. But then in came Henderson bundling onto it before dinking it towards the back post, and there standing underneath it was Mane and he had a free header to put it home. And Liverpool doubled their lead just 2 minutes later as Mo Salah scored against his former club, and oh my god, what a goal. I feel like you've all seen this, but if you haven't, you need to go and find this goal. It was just karma after what those Chelsea fans were chanting for Salah during the week. He picked the ball up on the right wing, cut inside, ran past his man and hit one from about 25, maybe 30 yards out. And what a hit, son. What a hit. Flew like a bullet, straight past Kepa, straight into the top left corner. And that's how the game ended as Liverpool made sure that the memories of the slip from 5 years ago weren't repeated on Sunday. Well, that was until Andy Robertson slipped, but nothing came of it, so everybody just needs to forget about that. After the nervous first half, Liverpool emerged from the break a different side and played with extra fight and purpose. Chelsea had been unbeaten at Anfield since 2012 and are the only side to beat Liverpool at Anfield this season in the Carabao Cup when they won 2-1, but they couldn't become the first team to beat them in a Premier League as Liverpool's unbeaten run at Anfield carries on, as they got a massive win as they remembered the 96th on the 30th anniversary of the Hillsborough disaster. And we move on to Southampton versus Wolves. Just over a minute into the match, Southampton took the lead as Nathan Redmond got Southampton's quickest Premier League goal since December 2016. The ball was lofted up the wing to Josh Sims and he galloped onto it, takes it to the byline before delivering a lovely low cross right in that corridor, and sneaking onto it was Redmond, who ran into the near post and whacked it high past the keeper. But Wolves levelled it up just before the half-hour mark as Willy Bolly got the equaliser. We all love Big Willy. It had been coming and they finally made the pressure count. A corner swung in from the right by João Moutinho, right onto the head of Bolly. He outjumped two men to head the ball into the far corner. But just 2 minutes later, Southampton retook their lead as Nathan Redmond got his and Southampton's second of the day. Josh Sims again in the thick of it. This time he gives it to Danny Ings, who looked up and timed his pass perfectly through to Redmond. Wolves won offside, but Redmond is clearly being played on by a Wolves defender on the left side. I think it's Connor Cody. It sure will look like him anyway. Redmond picked up the slid ball and was one-on-one with Patricio, kept his cool, waited for the keeper to commit and calmly chipped it over him. And Southampton put a bit of daylight between them and their opponents as Shane Long scored in back-to-back Premier League games for the first time in 3 years. James Ward-Prowse's corner was poorly dealt with and the ball finds Maya Yoshida, who rather spectacularly went for a bicycle kick. That bounces off of a few defenders before eventually coming to Shane Long and he poked it and yet again the Wolves defence were complaining for offside, but the replay showed that again it was clearly onside, and this time it was Adama Traore who didn't move up with the defence. And as the game ended, Southampton took a massive step towards securing their place in the Premier League next season thanks to a Nathan Redmond double. Despite their future still in the balance, there was hardly any nerves amongst the players and fans as they made a flying start to the match. After the FA Cup disappointment for Wolves last weekend, there seemed to be little hangover, and despite the early goal they controlled the ball and looked rather dangerous. Southampton have won 8 games under Ralph Hasenhüttl in his half a season in charge, which is the same amount as what they managed under their last 2 managers combined. It's fair to say the Austrian has certainly lit a fire under their Southampton players. And we move on to Manchester United versus West Ham. United will get the perfect chance to take the lead in the 18th minute as they were given a rather soft penalty. Not only was it soft, I don't even think it's inside the box. The ball was played back to Juan Mata just outside the area. A challenge comes in, Mata goes down really easily, right on the 18-yard line. I'm not sure whether it's inside or not, but the ref pointed to the spot anyway. Paul Pogba stepped up to take it and he sent Fabianski the wrong way and placed it into the bottom left. But West Ham levelled it up 5 minutes into the second half as Felipe Anderson got his 10th of the season. Manuel Lanzini has the ball on the left wing. He dinks one into a rather bare Man United box, and I mean that defensively and offensively. He dinks it in, there's really nobody there. It goes over the head of Javier Hernandez, but running onto it at the back post was Anderson, and he was completely unmarked as he squeezed it in past David De Gea. But Manchester United will get their second penalty of the game in the 80th minute. It came minutes after West Ham went close twice, and after a sensational David De Gea save as well. United go up the other end, Anthony Martial was racing through, Ryan Fredericks tries to make up the ground, comes lunging in, properly takes out Martial, and unlike the first one, this one is clear as day. Paul Pogba stepped up to take his second of the game. This time Fabianski goes the right way, but it's a solid penalty from the Frenchman as they put it straight into the bottom left corner, well out of the reach of the keeper. And that's how the game ended as Manchester United narrowly escaped with all 3 points. A rather underwhelming United side beat West Ham in a game where next season, with the implementation of VAR, they may not have. West Ham scored in the 9th minute, but it was wrongly ruled out for offside. Then the first United penalty could have been overturned with VAR. West Ham were the better side in the first half, and after overcoming an initial spell from United after they introduced Rashford, West Ham were on top in the second half as well. And they would have left with the 3 points if Mikel Antonio put any of his good chances away, but after back-to-back defeats for United, they get back to winning ways, but not as comfortable as they would have liked. And we move on to Fulham versus Everton. After a timid first half, we thought we would be in for more of the same in the second 45, but it was anything but, as just 30 seconds into the second half, Fulham took the lead as Tom Cairney opened his account for the season. Ryan Babel broke free against his old rivals. He was away down the left, laid it across for Tom Cairney, and he stroked it past Pickford from just inside the area. And Fulham doubled their lead in the 70th minute as former Liverpool man Ryan Babel scored against his old Merseyside derby opponents. Alexander Mitrovic clipped the ball through to Ryan Babel. He strode away from the Everton defence and smacked it past the keeper. And that's how the game ended, as Fulham played like a team full of confidence despite being already relegated. If only they gelled like this all season. Mitrovic was a constant threat as they got their first win under caretaker boss Scott Parker, and despite being the worst team in the league defensively, they comfortably kept Everton at bay to keep only their third clean sheet of the season. Everton went into this game on the back of 3 consecutive wins to reignite their hopes of a Europa League space, but the blue side of Merseyside saw that momentum come to a crushing end with a rather timid display on the bank of the Thames. They didn't threaten in the first half, and whatever Marco Silva said at half time went in one ear and then straight out the other one as they conceded within a minute of the restart. Everton are still in the hunt for 7th place, which will give them the Europa League space that they want if Man City win the FA Cup. And we move on to Burnley versus Cardiff. Burnley had been slowly building the pressure on the Cardiff defence, and they got the goal that had been coming just after the half-hour mark as Chris Wood put Burnley in front. Poor defender from Cardiff, really, from a corner. Absolutely no one is marking Chris Wood, which is a bit shocking considering the size of him. Dwight McNeil put the corner in, and the Kiwi is as free as a bird to meet the corner and head it home. And Burnley wrapped the game up in the 91st minute as Chris Wood got his and Burnley's second. It's the exact same combo linking up for the goal. Dwight McNeil this time with a low cross in, it hits Bruno Manga, then the keeper, and then sat up nicely for Chris Wood, and he is free to head home from 2 yards out. And that's how the game ended, as Cardiff's already slim chances of survival took another setback with the loss to Burnley, and yet again Cardiff were involved in another controversial refereeing decision. This time they were given a penalty for handball, only for the ref to go to his linesman and then overrule it. I mean, if Danny Rose's was a penalty last week in the Champions League, then so is this. The away side then had another 3 penalty shots turned away. All were pretty valid as well, especially when Taylor brought down Aaron Gunnarsson. That one was a penalty, no doubt. With Burnley leading 1-0, Cardiff's best chance came to Junior Hoylett, but he blazed a great chance over the bar. Having lost 3 in a row, it would be a minor miracle if Cardiff somehow avoided a straight return to the Championship. But we'll see how they got on last night. Stick around for the end. And we move on to Watford versus Arsenal. Arsenal took the lead just under 10 minutes in as Ben Foster made one of the worst mistakes of the season. He receives the ball from his defender, turns, just doesn't get rid of it. He spends far too much time debating where he's going to punt it, that Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang nipped in, jumped in front of the keeper, blocked the attempted clearance, and the block ball rolled over the line. It's the scrappiest goal Aubameyang is ever going to score. And just over a minute later, things would go from bad to worse for Watford as they reduced to 10 men as their captain Troy Deeney was shown a straight red card. There's no cojones there, Deeney. There's just no need for it, really. Torreira and Deeney battling for position. Torreira gets the ball away, and then a good second after the ball was gone, Deeney just smacked Torreira in the face. Ref didn't give it, but the linesman flagged, had a word in the earpiece. The ref trusted his assistant and sent Deeney for a very early shower. And that's how the game ended, as Arsenal edged out the win and picked up their first league clean sheet away from home this season whilst doing so. Despite playing with 10 men for 18 minutes of the match, Watford's were the far greater threat, with the home side hitting the bar, forcing Bernd Leno into a number of good saves, whereas Arsenal only had one good chance at the second half when Henrik forced Ben Foster into a save. Arsenal were far off their best, but what can be considered a rare victory away from home these days could prove crucial in their race for Champions League as Arsenal moved back into the top 4. And we move on to Leicester versus Newcastle. Newcastle took the lead 32 minutes into the match as Ayoze Perez headed the away side in front. Miguel Almiron started off on the wing. He tries to cut inside and get in the box, but he is tackled and the ball fell to Matt Ritchie. Ritchie took a touch towards the byline before whipping it in, and there ghosting in front of his man was Ayoze Perez, and the Spaniard headed it from the front post back across and into the back of the net. And that's how the game ended. Leicester dominated the ball with over 70% possession, but Newcastle produced a pretty flawless away performance to grind out the win. They allowed Leicester to have the ball, stayed rigid in their shape, and always looked a threat on the counter. They seemed to always target Wilfred and Ndidi, and it worked as he gave the ball away plenty of times in the first half. Leicester were unable to play their normal game as Vardy wasn't allowed to run in behind the Newcastle defence, and James Maddison's creativity was stifled, and normally if Maddison has a poor game, so do Leicester. And that is exactly what happened here as Newcastle picked up a massive win in their quest for survival. And finally, we've got Brighton versus Cardiff. In the massive game at the bottom of the table last night, Cardiff took the lead just over 20 minutes in as Nathaniel Lenders-Mang scored a belter. Lendersbank actually started the move as he strode forward into the Brighton half. He laid it out wide to Junior Hoylett. There's no one in the box for him to cross to, so he looks back for Lendersbank outside the box, and he took a touch before curling one into the far corner. And Cardiff doubled their lead 5 minutes in the second half as their captain Sean Morrison gave Cardiff a bit of breathing room. A free kick to Cardiff just inside the Brighton half. Cardiff put men in the box and the free kick taker does exactly what they wanted. Victor Camarasa took the free kick and floated it deep into the Brighton box, and there getting on the end of it was Morrison, and he headed it home. And that's how the game ended as Cardiff reduced the gap on their opponents to just 2 points last night. What a week it was for Brighton. They played 2 games at home this episode, scored none, conceded 7. Jesus. Both teams will be keeping an eye on each other over the next few weeks, as it's looking more and more likely that one of these 2 teams will take up the final relegation spot. And you know what, if Brighton keep doing this, then bye. Brighton will take advantage of a game in hand that they have over Cardiff and will be hoping they can win that to grasp onto Premier League status. After their horrible time at the weekend, Brighton made 5 changes by bringing in the best strike in the world, Glenn Murray, but even he couldn't help. You know, it's all good having a world-class striker on, but what's the point? You know, what I hope for is Barcelona or Madrid come in for Murray so he can finally get the service he needs. Both teams have difficult run-ins, with Cardiff having to play Liverpool and Man United, whereas Brighton have to face Tottenham, Arsenal and Man City, but this result would have given Cardiff a glimmer of hope. Right, so that is all the games I've got for this time. Before we go, let's take a look at the Premier League table and top goal scorers, starting off with the Premier League table. Starting with the top 5, and as you can see, Liverpool are on the top after beating Chelsea. Manchester City are second after beating Crystal Palace. Tottenham are third after Lucas's hat-trick put Huddersfield away. Arsenal are fourth after beating Watford, and Chelsea make up the top 5 after losing at Anfield. Moving on to the bottom 5, and Huddersfield are on the bottom. They were beat by Tottenham. Fulham are 19th and picked up a win against Everton. Cardiff moved to 2 points from safety after beating Brighton. Speaking of Brighton, they're 1 above the drop zone after 2 poor results this weekend, and Southampton make up the bottom 5 and put a bit of daylight between them and the drop zone after beating Wolves. Moving on to the top goal scorers, and as you can see, it's joint at the top. Sergio Aguero didn't score against Palace, but Mo Salah sure scored against Chelsea. They're both on 19 goals and 7 assists. Pierre Aubameyang got the scrappiest goal of his career. That took him to 18 goals and 5 assists. Sadio Mane was on target against Chelsea. He moved to 18 goals and 1 assist, and making up the top 5 after his double against Palace is Raheem Sterling, who was on 17 goals and 9 assists. Right, so that's all I've got for this time. If you did, leave a like and subscribe, and I'll be back at the normal time of next Tuesday at 4 PM for the next episode of the Premier League review. If you want to stay up to date about anything we do, best to follow us on Twitter. The link to that is in the description, or it's at portionofsport_. If you missed the last episode, that'll be on the right hand side of the outro screen, and a link to the channel will be on the left. If you feel like subscribing, go on, do it. But anyway, thank you for watching. Be sure to leave a like and subscribe if you are new. I've been Mark from the Portion of Sport, and I will see you soon.
My mama calls, see you on TV. Sunset shit done changed. Ever since we was on, I dreamed it all. Ever since I was young, they said I won't be nothing. Now they always